You're listening to the Team Stripes Podcast.
Everybody, welcome back to the Team Stripes Podcast. This is episode 71. Joined with me, as always, is my co-host, Brendan Est, and I'm Ross Grimaldi. Brendan, what's up, dude?
Nothing much. We are finally, I believe, a week into the off season now for the NHL, even though hockey season's starting up everywhere else. So it's a little bit weird, but draft starts tomorrow. We got a lot of hockey news to talk about. Everything's going good. Ross, how are you?
Dude, still riding the high from last Monday. I got my Eastern Conference champion shirt on. I need to get some Stanley Cup merch, but, I just haven't really had the time to go buy any of that. We had a boat parade and the guys going out being ridiculous, having a good time. This morning I listened to Chicklets and heard Alex Killorn and Pat Maroon talking about their experience and some really funny stories there. So we're kind of riding the high here in Tampa as far as the Lightning win on the Cup, and then business as usual on the ice. We had let's see what I do. I had some U18s this weekend and then some U14s as well. So a little bit of youth hockey this weekend. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah, so obviously speaking of the Bolts winning the Cup, they won it last Monday night in Game 6.
Just like I foretold.
I was going to say, just like you thought, I think it was an easy fashion. I mean, Bolts were the better team. They
weren't the better team. Of the 24 teams that showed up into the bubble, well, the two respective and then the one at the end, like the Lightning were by far the best team.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. And it's clearly evident they won the Stanley Cup.
Yep.
As for our hockey, like you said, like we're in full swing. I know Dallas had a tournament here it was a Guns N' Hoses tournament this weekend for Adult League. So they supported the Guns N' Hoses charity, which is a great charity. I got to skate a bunch of those games, which they're actually really fun because, all the players hang out. We get the police in there. We get military, firefighters. It's a fun tournament.
Yeah, we do one here in Orlando, and I've always heard it's a good time. I've never had the pleasure of getting to skate it, but I've always heard the Guns N' Hoses stuff is always fun. Gets a little heated too.
Yeah, every year there's always one game for me that for no reason just turns into another shit show.
Yep.
I had mine, I guess it would have been on Saturday. So we in Dallas have a league rule of 10 penalties in a game total. It goes to runtime for Adult League, which is the best rule ever. And so at the end of the first period, the scorekeeper, who's a really, really well-respected scorekeeper in Dallas, he looks at me and he's like, "We only have 4 penalties." And I was like, "I know, we have 4 too many right now." And he's like, "Yeah, but you probably could have called like 10. And I was like, "Oh, probably. But, it's charity. Like, we're trying to let them play."
Mm-hmm.
So by midway through the second period, we had hit 10 penalties, unfortunately. Not unfortunately for me. Nothing changes for me. It's just another hockey game. And it was funny. All the players at the end of the game, they came up to me and they're like, "That was a really good job. But, like, how do we get to 10 penalties so quickly?" And I was like, "Well, takes about 3 guys to be stupid, and next thing you know, we're at 10 penalties pretty quick." But for the most part, those games are actually really, really fun. I had one of my games, I had the Fort Worth Police Department and the Dallas Police Department, and that was probably the most fun game I've skated in a hot minute. So
awesome.
But it is weird though to have youth hockey and in full swing, and then junior hockey's about to start down here for us, but yet the NHL's not on. Like, we're talking NHL off season. The draft is, I guess, today, which is weird, but awesome at the same time.
Yep. Yeah, it's obviously just kind of a weird thing, and we got the Rangers picking first overall, and there's no way they're not picking Lafreniere. And then Yzerman's probably going to make some moves. It's definitely going to be an interesting couple of days as far as the NHL offseason goes. And, yeah, it's odd that – hold on.
You're good.
Shadow. Can you – thank you. It's odd that – we're getting into the full swing of things, and pro hockey's like, oh yeah, well, we just finished, so we'll see where things take us, because we don't even have a real start date yet for anything.
Yeah, but speaking of the draft, that is, I guess it's tonight. We're recording on Monday, so it's tomorrow for us. But round one's Tuesday night. The Rangers are obviously going to pick Alex Lafreniere. He's going to be sick there with Panarin and that rest of that crew. LA's picking second, Ottawa third, Detroit fourth, and then to round out the top five, Ottawa again. I think Ottawa has a great chance to really, really help their team out. I always like the draft. It's fun. It's I got to go to, it was in Dallas, I guess it was 2 years ago maybe. And so I got to go to it in Dallas, and it was awesome. Definitely a cool experience. I would recommend anybody going. Personally, I don't know a whole lot about the prospects getting picked.
Oh,
so
I got nothing there, man.
I was going to say I can't say who's going where or what. A few things that stood out to me, though, from round one is I believe Ottawa and New Jersey both have 3 picks in the first round. And I believe – yeah, it's Ottawa and New Jersey both have 3 picks in the first round, which to me is insane.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Lightning don't have any picks, so
correct. So
yeah,
the Lightning,
we traded a couple of picks for different things, and nothing in the first round for us.
Yeah, the Flames thankfully have 1, which is my team, and I think they're 19th overall. Yeah, 19th overall for the draft. So I mean, it'll be fun. It's on TV. I always like to watch it. It's the future of the NHL, and with a lot of these first rounders, they could be in the league next year, or they could be in the league in 2 or 3 years.
Yep, for sure. Or a team will end up drafting a guy in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round that turns into a guy like Braden Point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Flames have a lot of those too, in Johnny Gaudreau and guys like that.
Yep.
But,
well, speaking of the Flames, we'll kind of shift gears a little bit away from the draft. How about them new unis going back old school?
Yeah, back to the retros. Those came out back in the 80s and 90s when they first moved to Calgary. And to me, I love them. The red ones were our 3rd jerseys probably for, I think, 3 or 4 years now. I have a Kachuk one that's like the red retro, and they are sick. And then last year with the Heritage Classic, we grabbed those jerseys and made those our road ones. And I think those are probably some of the best looking road jerseys in the NHL. I mean, they're just clean, classic, and easy. And I love it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, for sure. They're going to look good, going to those full time.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously we had the Vegas Golden Knights unveil a jersey that is freaking sweet looking. But like you said in our little chat prior to recording, was they might not necessarily look that good on TV.
I was going to say they look good in pictures, and I guarantee you at the game they'll look sick. But on TV, I'm scared that it's going to be Nashville's mustard yellow round 2.
Yeah, very,
and we all know how
very
those
true.
turned out.
I guess we'll see. You would think that they would have tested those on the ice with a camera just to see what it's going to look like, but maybe the department at Adidas overlooked that. So
I
they're
think
definitely nice looking.
It's risky.
They remind me of the Michigan Gold Dazzle jersey, if you remember those. So yeah, it'll be fun to see those on the ice. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I'd really like to see the league go to doing color versus color games. So last season, I went to a Lightning and Carolina Hurricanes preseason game. the Lightning had on their blue jerseys for being the home team, and Carolina actually had their red jerseys on instead of the road whites. And I thought it was pretty cool doing colors and colors. So like if teams are, don't have like a similar color. So like like the Lightning and the Red Wings or the Hurricanes or, just those are just two examples I can think of off the top of my head. I think it'd be cool to see color versus color instead of, dark and white.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree, but obviously you run into the issue of you get like a Calgary versus the Devils where
you wouldn't do color you wouldn't do that there.
Oh, so you would do it for not
only teams with
games?
Yeah, only teams with contrasting colors.
So it would have to be like blue versus red. I mean, it would be
or
cool.
like the Avalanche and like the Stars, because they wear green, the Avs are purple.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of like those heavily contrasting colors. I don't know. It'd just be fun to see.
I think it would be pretty cool. I know.
Because that would also give the opportunity to get those third jerseys on the ice a little, even more than just, the Saturday games that they're only allowed to be played with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with that. I think it would be cool. I know most teams will wear their road whites like at least once at home.
Yeah.
And then it was funny. I remember I went to a Calgary game in Vegas a few years ago, and Calgary was wearing their home red on the road, and I was like, this just looks wrong.
Well, I remember years ago the Canadians used to wear white at home the first half of the season, and then after, I think, January 1st, they would wear red at home the rest of the season. So they would flip. Yeah. I mean, I want to say that was maybe the late 90s. I could be wrong, but I just remember that being a thing for them.
Well, because, I mean, at one point, the NHL was white at home, red on the road, or dark on the road. But then I don't really know why they switched it.
I don't either.
I
don't either.
I don't
think
mind
it was
those.
Just a way to when they did. I think when they originally switched it, they were just thinking that to get people to buy more jerseys.
Probably.
And then it's just never switched back. So.
Yeah. Speaking of jerseys, though, the one jersey that I wish the Flames did bring back was their horse jersey.
Oh, the Flaming Horse?
Yeah, called Blasty. A lot of people just know it as the Flaming Horse. To this day, that is my absolute favorite jersey of all time, and they need to bring it back. I think it should come back as their third jersey. We'll wear it 5 times a year, and it will look sick.
Well, if you want to get into old school third jerseys, we'll bring up the Tampa Bay Lightning's original third jersey. That thing was atrocious looking, but man, was it sweet.
I was gonna say,
speaking of sweaters, we have our Team Stripes referee sweaters that I wore last week on the podcast. They're all sublimated. It's a pretty sweet look. We're working on doing another round of orders. If you might skate a league that you think might be interested in switching it up, adding some style to the game, definitely reach out and contact us, and we'll see if we can work some kind of deal. We'd definitely like to get our jerseys out there on the ice.
And they look awesome.
Yes, they do.
Like you look so much better in the
I may or may not have worn the referee one in a U18 18 game this past weekend. Sorry.
Is that where that picture was from?
Yeah, it
was funny. I saw that and I was like, you definitely wore that during a game.
Oh, 100% I wore it.
I would have too, though. I mean, they're clean.
I do what I want. Do as I say, not as I do, people. Don't just.
It's Florida. You can get away with it down there.
Yeah. Well, the coaches loved it. They thought it was cool. They're like, oh, man, look at you looking sharp.
I was going to say, you probably looked a lot better.
Yep, for sure. Well, speaking of refereeing and all that other good stuff, I think we should probably transition into our interview.
Let's do
segment.
That.
So this week's interview is a gentleman that I had the pleasure of officiating while he was playing in the Southern Professional Hockey League. And then when I was actually at the game where he retired, so they had a little retirement ceremony for him in Pensacola. And then he really didn't know what he was going to do with himself when he got done playing. And he decided to put the stripes on. He got to go to the combine. He lined and refereed in the Southern Professional Hockey League. He's living in St. Augustine, Florida, and now he's a linesman in the ECHL. Gotten to work a couple of games with him, wearing the stripes. And all-around good dude, Cole Rue. So we'll throw that over to the interview. And then also on the interview, Mr. Brandon Bourgeois, the creator of Team Stripes, actually jumped on because Brendan was on the ice working. So it was nice to have Brandon on the podcast. So hope you guys enjoy that. So our guest today is a guy that I actually reffed while he was playing in the Southern Professional Hockey League. And then when his hockey, and I actually also was on the ice for the game that he retired. So they brought him out, and the Pensacola Ice Flyers honored him and for his career. And then he decided to join the dark side and put the stripes on. And I know he went to the combine. Worked the SP, is working the coast now. So without further ado, Cole Rue is our guest today. Cole, how you doing, bud?
Good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yep. Well, we're good here. So I guess we'll start. So Cole, so tell us a little bit about yourself, like growing up playing, where you're from, what all that, the playing side.
All right, yeah. I grew up in Illinois. Just played minor hockey around. It's called Pekin, Illinois, small town outside of Peoria. Went to high school. Decided to try out for the Peoria Mustangs. Thought it was cool. Didn't know anything about junior hockey. Played there for 3 years. Went to Nichols College for 4. Small D3 school again. Just kind of enjoying the lifestyle. Being able to say I played college hockey. Got a call my senior year from Wichita, which was in the Central Hockey League at the time. Now is basically ECHL.
Mm-hmm.
Called me up for 8 games, and from there it just went on for 8 more years. And then had the retirement thing in Pensacola, like you said. Played for a long time, never had any winning. Obviously had good seasons, never any championships or anything like that. Once I retired, I didn't have a clue what I was going to do. Made some calls to Jim Combs, who used to be the commissioner of the SPHL. He introduced me to the reffing side, and like you said, did the combine, and from there, tried the little lifestyle of traveling around all the time in the SP. I was a linesman for a year. Wore the armbands my second year. Was all over the place. Wasn't very good at that by all means, but also didn't really like the stress.
Yep.
So next year, I just made the call to the coast and decided just right to be linesman. And here I am now working games with you, doing the summer stuff in Florida, minor hockey, and it's been a lot of fun. Actually, it was good. It's been a fun transition.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely enjoyed being on the ice with you when you were a player. It was, like if you were on the ice, like you were pretty good about, staying level head and kind of keeping things in check. I know, with when you were playing for the Rivermen, I had a few games where shit kind of went downhill, and then I know you were out there, and it because you were, the leader of the team and all that with the Rivermen. So like, it was always nice knowing that, a guy like you is out there kind of keeping everybody in line a little bit. And then you if I remember right, you had a couple of decent tilts while I was out there reffing too, right? Like you used to fight a little bit.
I did fight. I wasn't very good at it, but I swung pretty hard and hoped to dodge the other ones coming at me. But I was by no means a solid, flashy hockey player. I was a kind of a grinder type, 5th, 6th defenseman most of my life. And basically, if I had to fight, it was basically just try to keep my job. Did what I had to do to stay out there. Made it for 8 years, 300+ games. So it was a pretty good accomplishment.
Yeah, that's a pretty good career for anybody as far as, pro hockey goes, because obviously not many people get to say that, they played pro, getting
Right.
to play and all that. So let's see.
And Cole, I was actually going to ask, like, your career and stuff. I mean, like, I think we talk a lot about like guys that play at a high level and switch to officiating, and kind of like what it looks like when you're starting out. But I'm kind of curious, like, for you and your teammates when you're playing pro and kind of going through the ranks, like, I know you gotta maybe talk about like career post hockey. Like, did guys ever talk about like officiating as a career, like while you were playing, or was that ever something like talked about, or was it more, guys looking at Europe or coaching, or I don't know? Can you bring us into that a little bit?
Yeah, to be honest, that's actually a great comment. Until my last year in the SPHL, like I didn't know that these guys that were in the roughing us were like anything more than just local guys. I mean, there might have been some people that paid deeper attention to it, but I never did. And I was a captain of a few teams. Like I knew they were the same regular guys, but I didn't understand anything about the system, like the organization and the program they call it. So until that last year, it was the first time it had ever been introduced to me. So in all honesty, I don't think that anybody ever thought it was a path. Most of the time, everybody was thinking coaching or Europe or just play till you were done. And for the kids that did have college degrees, thought maybe go further. And then obviously there was the few that still had the opportunity to make it to the NHL. There were some of us that just knew where we were at. We peaked. But I never had an idea. I mean, by all means, I love playing the game, but at the same time, I knew where I was with a few injuries. And if I would have known that 4 years after I started that this was an option, I feel like I would have pulled out as a player a lot quicker and tried this path, because I don't know, once you know the game and you've been out there and you've felt the whole that way of the emotions when you're out there, you definitely see the game a different way. I'm not saying you ref it differently, but I feel like you know where to position yourself, and it just makes it good, but kind of successful, I guess, at that point.
And you talked to, like, you were a captain for a few seasons at least there. I mean, is there maybe being a captain, is there an opportunity there where you're maybe regularly conversing with officials on the ice where you start to pick up little things like still while you're playing, or maybe get a better respect for the rules? I mean, like as a captain, you kind of have that added responsibility where you have to have those conversations now. Like, is that something that, I don't know, kind of piqued your interest maybe a little bit?
I mean, I would say that Ross ran into me my last year being a captain. My first year, I was an absolute asshole. Sorry for the language, but if there's anybody that I worked with a few guys that reffed me my first year in the SP, and until they met me off the ice, they probably didn't have a very good impression of me because I was kind of hot-headed, right? But to that point, I do think that when you're as a captain, when you want to go up and talk to the guys, they obviously know what they're talking about, and you want to make sure that you have some sort of idea that you know a little bit of the rule that you're trying to discuss with them. And I think that was part of it. So I did try to pay attention a little bit more because I knew I was going to try to have those conversations and I wanted to have the upper hand. I think that reversed, though, now that I was trying to be the asshole when I go to coaches and they're trying to talk to me. I was like, I was that guy. I know exactly every line he's going to say. I know exactly what to say to calm him down and basically just say, like, it's my show. You shut up and come down to my level and we'll figure it out from here. But yeah, I guess it did make a little bit difference just because as being a leader and wanting to know you had to know the ins and outs before you went up and tried to tell someone what they were doing wrong, because you're never going to win that battle if you have no clue what you're talking about.
No, that definitely makes sense. So then I guess after retiring, like, how about, let's talk about that combine experience. What was that like? Because I know that's something that the NHL is doing every year, trying to get these guys that, kind of peak in minor pro and say, hey, there's a way to stay in the game. Come join the dark side and come check out this combine. So what was that experience like?
Yeah, I mean, that goes along with kind of the last comment, like not knowing a whole lot about the program, not knowing how big of a deal this really was. I was a guy just out of playing. I was like, I'm in good enough shape to show up to this and be fine. And I went there and I didn't realize like how I felt like I stepped into that as complete disclosure, be honest, because I was almost given that opportunity because I played. Mm-hmm. There's people that are dying to get there, and you get there and you realize how intense it is and how important it is.
Yep.
You check in. They were right downtown Buffalo, connected to that rink. We walked in and they were just finishing up the actual NHL combine.
Okay.
So we're standing there and like I didn't know any referees. The only referee I knew was Wes McCauley, because how do you not know that guy, right?
Yep.
And he's standing in the lobby as I'm walking in. I didn't make eye contact with him, but I locked onto him because I was like, God, I know who that is. And it took me a while to register. And that's when I first realized how big of a deal it was. But, we're sitting there doing the training, the off-ice stuff. They do the testing. Had to do the bike riding. I don't remember the wordage, what it's called at this point in time, but the bike ride with the weight. They do it at the actual combine for the players. Mm-hmm. The guys screaming in your ear, telling you to pedal faster, this and that.
Yeah, it's like they want you to
CO2 max or the CO2 max or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was fun. I mean, all the testing was crazy. Then you get on the ice. You did there wasn't a ton of on ice testing, but it was enjoyable. And then you got to play some games, but either played or you ref the games. And it was fun. It was It was a really cool experience. Obviously, opened some doors for me, and definitely an eye opener to what the world really was in the reffing side.
Yeah, obviously it's something that, when you play growing up and you don't really ref or think about it, like a lot of people don't think about what goes into the behind the scenes stuff as far as being an official goes. So like those guys that, transition over, they're kind of, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, like, oh wow, I didn't realize all this goes on, like especially when you get into the ODP and doing all that, and then obviously you work the SP. What was that like going from playing in that league to reffing the league? Like obviously there were still guys on the ice that you played against or with when you were out there.
Yeah. So the first year I got in there, they put me in as a linesman, and I went because my last year I played was in Pensacola, and so then I moved to St. Augustine, Florida, which I'm still in. I don't know if you guys know the driving distance between St. Augustine and Pensacola, but it's 6 hours.
Yep.
And the scheduler, I want to say his name's Monticello. He must not know that Florida's a big state. He put me in Pensacola every freaking weekend. Obviously, playing there the year past,
Yeah.
I would say 65% of the team was returning guys.
Yep.
So I'm out there feeling like I'm just with my buddies, like they're playing a real game, and I'm just having fun, like still out there acting like I meant something, So first year was fun as a liney. I learned a ton. I worked at this guy by the name of Mike Hool.
Yep.
He was the linesman I worked with a lot. And then Brueggemann was out there in that league. And the kid from Orlando, what's his name? Really funny kid, the comedian.
Oh, Walker.
Walker, yeah. So those guys, it was us, those three, and myself, and we worked together all the time. It was a blast. Those guys kind of just taught me what it was like to be a referee, both on and off the ice. Like as a player, you don't necessarily get to have as much fun as you might on a good, week as a referee, I guess would be the best way to put it.
I've always said the referees have the most fun.
They do, because you don't have to get up so early for that pregame skate, and you can kind of work yourself out of things, you know.
And then obviously in Pensacola, going to Savell Quarter after the game or McGuire's. Yeah,
that was the spot. I still had as depressing as this sounds, the second year I went in there, I still had my card when I played there the year before. I was like, I'm still a player, and they let me in for free, and I thought it was so cool.
That's so great.
Yeah. But the lining part was great, and then the referee part, when the next year they put me in the referee, I was too closely removed to have the confidence to basically tell a guy that I fought or battled with to go fuck himself, that I'm right, you're fucking wrong, like get out of my face.
Yeah.
And I was too closely connected to be able to say, like, that's not a play that although that's something I would do in the defensive zone, it's still a penalty. I got to call that. And like, I let the game play out the way I wanted it to play if I was a player.
Yeah.
You just walk that line too much where I either call the phenomenal game or I call the game that we had 2 back-to-back line brawls, so.
Gotcha. So it was kind of like for you adjusting from playing, you're thinking about the game more from the perspective as a player than as an official. And like, it was just kind of that. And especially obviously knowing the guys on the ice, it's definitely kind of hard. So.
Yeah. And that's exactly it.
What kind of advice and feedback were you getting on stuff like that? Or like anything that points, like any particular, maybe like a situation that sticks out in your mind?
Yeah. So obviously I was the captain in Peoria, kind of had a weird leaving of there. It turned out to be blown up more in the media than it really was. But for what it's worth, I reffed a game in Birmingham, Alabama with Peoria Rivermen. And it just went to shit because all these guys I played with for 2 years. It was a coach that I grew up watching, had a really close relationship with. And I let the game go. Like, I let it play out till it was just lost. And that's when we had a couple back-to-back line brawls. it was just a shit show from the beginning to the end. Like I wanted to get off the ice so fast, and
Yeah.
they were still doing like the before they even players got off the ice. I left the ice because I was like, this is over. This was bad.
Yeah.
I had to drive from Birmingham to Macon, Georgia. So Alabama to Georgia. I don't know how far it was.
Couple hours.
Yeah. Stan Sturzik
Okay.
actually called me, and he was in the system as well. And he talked to me for like an hour and just said, like, this shit happens. Like, you just have to be a man about it. And the next day show up and, it's just like as a player, everybody has a bad game. Sometimes you just have to figure out how to manage it and show up as a man the next day and be like, yeah, I fucked up. No one got hurt. No one died. The outcome of the game wasn't really indicated by me, so I just got to show up and make a difference and be better the next night. And lucky for me, first period was a great period. There's a couple fights, like it was squirrely. And then as they were walking off the ice, the tunnels from Macon, I remember, they're pretty close. Like you have to kind of cross each other a little bit. And they're going out, and the two coaches start chirping at each other, and all of a sudden they're face to face. So I got to kick John Gee out the next night after a period. So I didn't have to listen to the cocksucker for the rest of the night, and I was good to go. It was perfect.
There you go.
Yeah. 1 minute, and they didn't have an assistant coach, so it was just players on the bench. And it happened to be a kid by the name of Ben Escroba, who was my D partner, and he wasn't going to say anything to me, and no matter what happened. So.
But I gotta ask, like, they always talk about, like, former players, they jump in and it's like they have the advantage because, like, they know the players, like, they have a feel for the game. But can that also be like a detriment sometimes where, like, maybe you have a buddy from your team last year that comes up to you and goes, throws in a couple curse words and say, man, like, what the fuck was that, or what the hell was that? Like, is that maybe a bad thing too, or the guys are so comfortable with you that they're almost too comfortable, I guess?
I think so. I 100% think so. And I think that's what probably got me into a little bit of trouble. And maybe it's not – it just happened to where I lived, right? So if I didn't live in Florida, maybe they didn't put me right in the SP to learn that way. Maybe they put me in the coast because of my situation. And maybe – I don't know how it broke down for everybody else that went from playing to that, but 100% in an 8-team league, when you were in there for 3 years – and a captain I guess a captain on all 3 years you were there. Everybody knew who you were, so they all felt comfortable coming to talk to you, and they felt like they could say whatever they wanted to say, whether good or bad, and it definitely made a difference in my reffing a bit. Like the way I grew as a referee, 100%, it made a huge difference.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense, especially when, you have those relationships there. And it's one of those things, like you said, it's hard to go from, skating with a guy 1 year, fighting him 1 year, to then calling a penalty on him and then telling him to go F himself. It's like shit, like now I'm in charge, but we're still kind of equals, but I'm in charge. Like it's just kind of an awkward place to be in, that's for sure.
Right. I mean, and then think about it from the coach's standpoint. So Rod Aldoff is my coach the year prior. Jeff Bess, I played for him as a year. He was a coach in the league.
Yep.
And then John Gee Trudell was a coach that I played for. So I got 3 coaches in the league that I played for. And I'm always, for whatever it is, like I'm yes, sir, when I'm playing for him. Yeah, I'll go out, fight that guy, bleed for you, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I got to totally role reverse and have them motherfucking me and me not be able to, like, yes, sir, you're right, I screwed up, to say, no, go fuck yourself. You're wrong. This is my game. You just sit back and listen to me, kind of thing. So it was difficult for sure.
Yep.
And like you talked about, like, you had, I don't know what your fighting record was back when you played. Like you mentioned, you had some scraps and stuff, but like, I'm kind of curious, like, for you when you were fighting a player or something like that, like, was it ever in the back of your mind, okay, hopefully there's a good linesman here that could protect me if I've ever gotten in a bad spot? Like, did that ever cross your mind, or was it something that was kind of an afterthought? Because I'm kind of curious, like, for you now as a liney, where you've had that part of your game, like, as a player, is that something that the players kind of appreciate now, that you can really kind of protect them, I guess, if they're in a bad spot?
I think as I got later in my career and realized more of how it went down with fighting, I did understand that. And I definitely think that as a linesman in the league, I have a better understanding of when to make situations where I'm going to jump in, or know when a guy's in a spot and know where to grab to try to help the guy if he is in a tough spot. When I was younger in fight, I had no idea what the referees were really there for, because I knew as a player, for what it's worth, I had a ton of respect for the game, and I knew that whatever happened, whenever someone hit the ground, it was over.
Yeah.
I'd never had a really bad one my way in terms of me being on the bottom of that pile. So maybe I'm lucky there, but at the same time, I wasn't fighting heavyweights. Like I was picking up that goal scorer that was being a dick. Like, I'm going to jump him and look tough for the girls kind of thing. So
There you go.
yeah.
Well, I mean, isn't that why we were involved in hockey anyway? The girls, right?
Yeah.
Not the referee said.
Oh,
No.
I couldn't score goals, so I might as well try to fight. So I had something to talk about to a girl at the bar that night. I mean, come on.
Hey, you see this? I got to fight tonight.
Right. There's a reason for this black eye.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then obviously like here we were doing youth and junior and Coast League stuff. What's it been like, as far as, become one of the boys on the officiating side, like compared to like playing, like the camaraderie, I guess.
No, I get what you're saying. So we were just in Tampa, and like it's a blast. Like those guys down there in South Florida, we have so much fun together, and like it's just like playing days in my mind, because like there's a couple guys that I could think of that, like my years in Kansas City were phenomenal. I lived with a couple guys that I haven't spoke to for I don't know how many years, but if we ran into each other at a bar, planned something, we'd hit it off like nothing ever happened, like we were together yesterday, right?
Yep.
But we're down in Tampa 2 weeks ago, and obviously me and you, Ross, and like the rest of the guys, the South Florida guys, we show up and it's like we haven't seen each other and really spoke other than a couple text messages, Snapchat for 6-7 months, and all of a sudden you show up and everybody knows everybody. You're having a great time like nothing happened. So the camaraderie thing, I mean, it's crazy how similar it is, and going to the point of like, as a referee, you get to have a little bit more fun, whether it's right or wrong. You get to have more time with these people and see, learn more about them. And yeah, it's always great to go down and enjoy that time. And then, you kind of miss it when it's gone, and then you start looking forward to the next tournament whenever it's going to happen. So you go down and see everybody.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. It's most of my best friends from hockey are all from officiating, and it's just been just such a great, and good time and wild ride and all that.
It's kind of funny. I had to do my online seminar for USA Hockey this week, Thursday, right?
Yeah.
And OC's the instructor, Lord is the instructor, Googleman.
Yeah.
And like these are all guys that we goof around with, have a great time, and all of a sudden I get on this call that you're thinking is going to be so professional, and you got to hide your fun while you're trying to drink, have a beer through the whole thing.
Yep.
These guys leading the cause, I was just dying laughing the whole time.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know I taught a seminar last weekend and I was having a few while I was teaching. Probably shouldn't admit that, but
It's 3 hours long. I mean, what are you supposed to do?
I know. I was doing a level 1, so it was like 5 hours long.
Oh my God.
Yeah, me, Jess Herman, and Scott Winokur were doing it, and it's just
You're the short stick on that one.
oh, I know. I haven't got any fun groups yet to work with the online stuff.
Yeah. So
Cole, like not knowing, like, so obviously like when you kind of finished playing, you jumped into the officiating side and like you're right away working like pro and stuff. So was it kind of weird jumping in, like, I don't know, like the levels of minor hockey you're doing and stuff now, but like, is it kind of weird where you might be starting out doing some minor hockey with USA Hockey's level systems and working, younger kids, and then also having the pro side? Like, is that kind of a weird thing to balance, or?
So it was kind of a weird path. So I don't admit this very often, but I tried refereeing when I was like 11 years old. And I was a really good player, obviously, and there wasn't very many good referees. So they wanted me to do the men's league games. And I started out like I was level 1. I was doing men's league games. And these guys were MFing me and telling me how much I sucked. And I quit. I just absolutely quit. So I made it like, I'd say all of like maybe 5-6 games, maybe one youth hockey game in the mix, right? But mostly men's league. And I quit because I thought it sucked. I was like, screw this. Like, I don't want to be yelled at. I want to be the one yelling, right? So I'm sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought here. What was the question again? Shit.
Oh, just like kind of like you're doing like pro hockey right off the bat
That's
when
right.
you're jumping onto the official side, and you got like the minor hockey stuff kind of going at the same time too, I guess.
Yeah, no. So to that point, yeah, my first real like game was line in the SP. So I did all that, and then I started meeting guys to try. Like I don't even know how I met a guy by the name of Laser Durago up here in Jacksonville. He got me connected with it. So yeah, it's been to start there and then kind of bounce back. The hardest part is the rule changes.
Mm-hmm.
So ECHL's got one rule book, right, that we have to deal with, and then what is the college leagues down here have a different rule book. They run,
College and junior use the NCAA book.
yeah, and
We
then
got
you go
a
and
youth book.
ref a youth hockey game, and it's like the 14-year-olds can tag up, but the 12-year-olds they can't. It's offsides automatically, but also even down to men's league, if you shoot on net offsides, it's all the way down. Like there's so many different rules that like you sit there in a game and all of a sudden someone blows a whistle and you're like, what is he blowing it for? You learn something constantly doing this crap. So
Yeah, it's and then obviously it's the Bantams and below or 14s and below can't ice it when they're shorthanded.
yeah,
But
that one.
16s and the 18s can, and just like all the little nuances of the USA Hockey youth or the USA Hockey book compared to like the ECHL and the NCAA where you got books where you got a little more leeway in what you can do, whereas the youth book, everything's a 2 and a 10, or it's this or it's that. Like it's and going backwards, like starting at pro and then going down to do youth. I mean, that's probably, that's actually pretty tough when I actually think about it, like
Yeah.
having to deal with. Yeah. Wow.
Just think about just talk like communicating, right? Like
Mhm.
you in a normal conversation with a grown person when you're heated in argument, there's a lot of words that come out that 4-letter words, I guess. You
Yeah.
can choose which one you want. Whatever they come out is not appropriate for an 8U game. And like
No.
you got mommy up in the stands over top of you telling you how much you suck, and she has no idea what she's talking about. Like her kids wear blue laces and tied backwards. So you don't even know what's like that was the hardest part for me is trying, and I'm a father is the worst part.
Yeah.
To try to translate between that, I guess. But
See, that's the thing. I don't know if it sounds bad, but the most frustrating thing is, when you're doing like pro games or high level stuff, and people know the rules. It's a great level of hockey. Then you go and do, like you said, like an 8U game where a lot of people involved may have no clue what's going on, and they just yell for no reason. And like you're like, do I even want to fight this battle right now? Do I want to explain the rule book right now? I don't know. You know what I mean?
no, 100%. And typically those games are what 8:30 in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, and none of us like. I don't want to listen to anybody, bitch, especially someone that I don't know.
Yep.
I got a pounding headache, or I'm just early. Like, lay off me with this one.
Yep. Sounds about par for the course down here in Florida with them. Well, it was unreal. Last Sunday I did a U16 game at like I think the puck drop was at 10:15. I rolled into the parking lot at 9:45 in the morning. The parents were in the parking lot slamming Budweiser. I texted OC right away. I was like, dude, there's parents pre-gaming. He goes, no surprise. I go, it's 9:45 in the morning on a Sunday.
It's okay. It's because it's Sunday makes it okay. Sunday
Yeah.
fun, right?
Yeah, Sunday fun day, exactly. In dealing with
Get an early start on church, I guess, huh?
Yep, exactly.
You're drinking church, right? You get some wine. So
Exactly. Yeah.
the same.
Yeah, I gotta say that's a first. I mean, maybe it's because we're used to doing hockey in the winter here in Canada, but there ain't no beer drinking at 9:30 in the morning here very much. That much. Mid-February there, walking through 2 feet of snow. Yeah, I don't think that's
Yeah,
happening.
well, in mid-February here it's like 60 degrees, so
I was going to comment on the fact that you're wearing a sweatshirt. That sucks.
Yeah, well, it's because it's a weekend too, but yeah, it's fall here now. It's I don't know what your Fahrenheit Celsius conversion is. When you say 60, I have no idea what that means. Truth be told,
fair enough.
but yeah, it's getting there now. We're out of summer for sure. The leaves are falling.
You guys are gonna have snow on the ground here soon.
Oh yeah, don't even say it. It's gonna come. It's gonna come.
Hey,
soon.
we got plenty of room down here in Florida for you, bud.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I think we're pretty lucky to be where we are. So maybe I don't know. Maybe someday there, Ross. Who knows?
Just giving you a hard time. Well, Cole, this has been an awesome conversation. And do you have any advice for maybe some guys that are still playing, as far as like maybe thinking about making the transition, or just in general to any referees out there that might be listening?
I mean, to players, like, you never want to say that it's over, right? But at the end of the line, sometimes when you're playing, you kind of know that this is your peak. Like, enjoy that peak and then maybe consider options. Once you're out of the game, unless you have like a real background, like career path, it's kind of a guessing game. If you want to try to prolong that life a little bit longer, maybe consider this and see the coming of the, like, I don't want to say, is it the coming of the end, see it earlier, but pay attention to that stuff because it's a fun option and you learn a lot and you're still in the game. And I tell you right now, I get to do a lot in Jacksonville, and they get a lot of people there. And you skate out, whether or not they're booing at me or they're saying whatever, cheering for me, it's still cool to hear that amount of people and come out. And the lights are off, the intro video, like you still feel like you're part of the game. Like that's the reason I do this shit, is because I still feel that. I'm 35 years old now, and I'm 6 years removed, I guess. 4 years removed, 5 years, whatever it is. And those games, that's my high. It's awesome. And then to the younger guys just getting into this, it's a lot of fun and you make a ton of friends. And most of the friends that I have currently are the guys that I've met through reffing. I hang out with through reffing. And, if I didn't have those guys, some people to talk to, guys like Ross, that want to bring me on a podcast, and I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing on really. And it's fun. So you make a lot of friends through it. You learn a lot. And, it's good fitness. It's fun, and you're involved in a game. So give it a shot. If you've never tried it, give it a shot, and don't let some prick of a coach MFing you in the stands telling you suck break you down, because you're going to hear that your whole life. Just get over it.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well said, Cole. That's awesome.
Yep. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
That interview was brought to you by Acme Whistles, helping you make the big calls since 1870. The legendary Acme Thunder is now available in matte black. Acme Whistles, proudly associated with the NHL since 1917. Ross, that interview was awesome. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there to join, but overall, I think it went really well.
Yeah, Cole's good people, man. I really enjoy getting to work with him. It was cool getting to have a guy go from playing and knowing him as a player, and then getting to put the referee stripes on with him and work together with him as an official. So good insight from him about that transition. The guys that might be listening, that if you're still playing the game and maybe getting towards the end of your career and might not necessarily know where you're going with it, definitely take a shot at putting the stripes on, and it'll open some new doors for you, that's for sure.
And speaking of retirements, we had one announced today in the NHL. Out of Philly, Matt Niskanen, the defenseman, retires after 13 NHL seasons.
Good for him, man. Good. That's a good career. 13 seasons. I'm sure he made a couple of bucks. Go enjoy life now, dude.
All I can think of is he was 33 years, or he is 33 years old, and obviously he just retired. To me, it's crazy to think about a guy at 33 retiring, just due to the fact that right.
And he played 13 seasons.
Yeah,
so,
but
he started when he was 20.
He's still
he's still
a
young
guy.
He's younger than me. Why is he retiring?
Right? But congrats to a great career on him. He was always fun to watch. He was a staple in Philly. All the best to him. And then at this time of the off season, we always get the unfortunate buyout window. And thankfully this season we've only seen 4. 2 of them really big names. One of those is Bobby Ryan out of Ottawa. They bought him out for, I believe it was the last 2 years remaining on his contract.
We got some breaking news.
Oh,
sorry to jumping in.
No, let's hit it.
The San Jose Sharks just acquired Devin Dubnyk.
Yes, they
from
did.
the Minnesota Wild.
Mm-hmm. I just saw that.
goalie trade. There's gonna be some goalies moving around this offseason. You got Lundqvist, probably Fleury, possibly Matt Murray. Obviously, we just had Dubnyk. So it's going to be an interesting offseason as teams retool and get ready for whatever comes their way. Sorry
Yeah.
to jump in.
You're fine.
I literally just got the buzz on my phone. I figured that's a pretty big trade because, the Sharks needed to get a little better in goal because Martin Jones, I don't think was, necessarily the
He's been less than
right-
stellar.
yeah.
Unfortunately, he's had a few good years, but less than stellar in the past.
Yep.
But on the trade talk, it was Devin Dubnyk and a 2022 7th-round pick, and the Wild acquired a 2022 5th-round pick.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I believe Dubnyk was at the end of his contract. So I think
So
they have
maybe
to
it's just right to
renegotiate.
talk to him.
I believe so.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
but
I
yeah.
was like, man, that's not much going either way.
No.
Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. Then they traded their rights to be able to talk before the free agency period, which opens on Friday.
I believe so, yes.
Where do you think Lundqvist's going to end up? It's so funny because all the memes that I saw were like, he's going to Tampa to hang out with McDonough, Girardi, and the rest of the Rangers that have all come here.
I was just saying,
But we don't need another goaltender. We're good.
Yeah, it's a weird spot because a team that needs a goaltender is probably not a cup contender, and at this point in his career, he wants to go to a cup contender. So,
Yep.
Thankfully, if you're looking at it on the bright side as a team that has to or wants to sign him, you can get him for dirt cheap because he's still getting
not gonna
paid
be
by the
very
Rangers.
expensive.
He's still going to get paid by the Rangers for the next 2 years, so you can sign
Mm-hmm.
him at league minimum even if you wanted to. Have him
If
play
he'll take it.
if he'll take it. But, if you're Hendrik Lundqvist and you get told, hey, you're going to be a backup goaltender, play 30 games a year, but you have a really, really good shot at winning the Stanley Cup, I would take league minimum personally. I think at this point for Lundqvist, it's more let's win a Stanley Cup than let's make money.
Yeah.
Which is
he's not in the I want to make a boatload of money phase of his career. He's in the phase where I really want my name on the Stanley Cup. And a guy like Hank, he deserves it. He's 400 plus wins, I believe, in the National Hockey League as a goaltender. The guy's a Hall of Famer, no doubt. So getting his name on the cup, I think, is priority number one because he's done everything else.
Mhm.
He's got that Olympic gold medal. Again, he's won the 400 plus games. He was, he's Mr. GQ off the ice as far as, always rocking some super awesome looking suits. So I think I hope he ends up somewhere that will, gives him the chance to win a cup.
The more I think about it, the more Colorado seems like a somewhat decent fit for him, just because I believe they have a good chance of winning the cup in the next few years. Their goaltending, as strong as it is quite young, and you bring in Lundqvist to mentor the younger guys. That's huge for any goalie.
Yeah, and then I think Dallas is re-signing Khudobin, obviously.
Mhm.
They got Bishop locked up for a few more years at like a $4.5 million cap hit or something like that.
Yeah.
Something close to that. I know it's under 5. So Dallas will be set there. Khudobin's going to get a nice little paycheck. Let's see. I know the Lightning got a few RFAs, but they got to get $10 million under the cap, or they got to lose $10 million because of the dang flat cap. I just saw today that they might be shopping around Tyler Johnson, which would get $5 million off of our payroll. I love Tyler Johnson. I would hate for him to not be a Bolt, but I'm just happy that, if he does get moved, that he was able to win the cup with this team because he's been such a vital part of the Lightning the last few years. And honestly, I've kind of been prepared for him to go away anyway because with Seattle coming about next year, and he's from Seattle, boys from like the Spokane area. I'm pretty sure that, you know, when their number comes up to pick the expansion draft, he was going to go there anyway. So in my head, I only had one more year of him being on this team anyway. But we'll see what the Lightning do. Free agency is going to be nuts. And then who knows are we going to play 70 games? Are they going to play 82? Who knows?
Yeah, this next few years, especially with the flat cap, is going to be something that I think a lot of people don't really know what to do, because teams plan
teams are planning, you know, on
for
it
the
going
cap to
up.
rise.
So, because had the cap gone up, the Lightning aren't in this position.
Correct.
You know, so it's just one of those things. Like we're kind of stuck, and then with fans, if fans aren't allowed in the building and revenue's down next year, the cap might not go up that much, and then teams are going to be again in that situation where we have these backloaded contracts anticipating the cap going up. But then if we get to full arenas again this season, let's say, and then everything's business as normal, you might see a huge cap jump. So, you know, who knows in this day and age with the way the world is.
Yeah. Speaking of the cap and having to pertain to buyouts, the Pittsburgh Penguins bought out the remaining 5 years on Jack Johnson's contract.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that happened today, and I believe, if I'm correct, Penguins are always up kind of close to the cap. So that's obviously, I think, a big reason of why he might be one of those guys that they buy out and then they bring him back for, let's say, $1 million, just so the cap hits less than what it is.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
But the with the cap, I mean, the free agency this year is just going to be absolutely insane, because guys are now going to want longer term for less money rather than more money, less term.
Yeah, it's definitely going to change everything. So we'll see. And then it was funny last night. I was talking to my roommate, and Coho was over, and I was like, "So what's the penalty if a team just says fuck it and spends over the cap?" And then we looked it up, and we we're like, "Yep, that's why teams don't do it, because it could lead to forfeiture of games, loss of points, a $5 million fine. Like if it was just a fine, it'd be like, here's your check."
Yeah, exactly.
You know, some of the team, like a team like the Lightning or some of the teams in the big markets, would just write the check to the league, be like, here you go, we're going to spend as much money as we want. But they're like, nope, you know, they added in a bunch of safeguards, so can't spend more than the cap.
Yeah, and with spending of money, there's been a few, I guess, signings since our last podcast. We've had 3 goalies sign on October 3rd. It was Brian Elliott signed a 1-year deal at $1.5 million. He's going to go back up Carter Hart in Philly. He's going to help. He's going to help Carter. And, I mean, Brian Elliott's still a solid goaltender, solid backup goaltender, but it's just something to shore up their goaltending. The Vegas Golden Knights, I think, surprised few people, but at the same time, many people.
Giving Leonard that contract.
Yeah, Robin Leonard, a 5-year, $25 million contract. Hats off to Robin Leonard.
I only time will tell. I think they overpaid him.
Yeah, I mean, comparing
I think
him
this
to
is a situation where
tough.
you have Fleury, and then you got a new GM come in, and it's just one of those things. Fleury wasn't his guy, so then he got Leonard, and then it's just like it's almost like a puppy love kind of thing with Leonard. So we'll see what actually happens. I might end up eating those words, but I think they overpaid him.
I really like Robin Leonard, but I mean, it's a big risk. I feel like it was at 5 years at $25 million. Just due to the fact that he hasn't really shown that he's a starting goaltender anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
He's only played, half the games every year, and obviously he took Vegas played for them in all the way to the Western Conference Finals this year in their little NHL bubble tournament. And he looked good in games, but at the same time, he looked really bad in other games.
Mm-hmm.
To add to the goalie controversy, though, out in Pittsburgh, Tristan Jarry re-signed a 3-year contract at $10.5 million, which
and
good
then
on him.
Murray's an RFA.
I believe Murray's a UFA this year, unrestricted.
Oh, is he UFA? Okay, I wasn't sure.
Andre Sekera of Dallas signed a 2-year, $3 million deal. Nothing major there. Good D-man, solid stay-at-home D-man. A surprising one for me was Toronto signed Jason Spezza to a 1-year contract at league minimum of $100,000 or $700,000.
Why not?
Yeah,
Veteran guy, bring him in, see what happens. Whatever.
Yeah, and then one last one that it was a 2-year length contract. I don't know the values or anything, but Sebastian Aho of the Islanders.
Okay.
As an
yeah,
RFA.
I mean he's been good there.
So
yeah, makes sense.
Those are all the the free agents and restricted free agent signings up to this point of note, I should say. But
yeah, and I'm sure obviously next week we're gonna have a lot to talk about.
Yep, with Friday. I think it's Friday.
We got the draft, free agency, all that stuff. So we'll see what happens this week. I think we're good on that topic because again, this week's going to be nuts. Looking forward to seeing who adds who, what happens. We're going to try to get another good guest lined up for everybody. Going to go ahead and plug our Team Stripes Academy. Any of you guys looking to improve your game, want to, if you're curious or just want to, get some really good material and lessons from one of the best to ever do it, Don Koharski, check out the Team Stripes Academy.
Yeah, one last thing I wanted to say before we finished up here was we all know the Sharks traded Devin Dubnyk, but as well as today, they traded Ryan Donato. The Wild traded Donato to the Sharks as well for a 2021
2 trades
third round.
Between those teams?
2 trades, 1 day, 2 separate transactions. I don't know.
Huh.
I don't know why they just didn't do it all at once.
Who knows?
And then also another one that stuck out to me is Oli Mata went to the Kings from Chicago, which Oli Mata is a younger defenseman, really solid. He's going to help the Kings for a while. I guess the Kings are in the middle of a rebuild, so it does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I have as for trades. One last thing that we need to bring up, which I think is really interesting, the QMJHL, the Quebec
I
Major
completely
Junior
forgot
League.
about that.
They adopted a new fighting rule. So I guess last year and all the years prior, their fighting rule was like the NHL. You fight, you get 5 minutes, you come back into the game. They now changed it to a 15-minute penalty. So you get a 5-minute fighting plus a 10-minute misconduct. So your fight now carries 15 minutes in the box rather than 5. They don't really have that big of an issue with it, I don't think, in the queue.
Well, I don't think there was much. Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't think there's much fighting in junior anymore anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, especially in the queue's a lot more skilled league than anything. It's, I mean, in
honestly,
let's
just call a spade here. They needed some money. They asked the government for money. The government said, well, we don't like that you still have fighting, so if you increase your fighting penalty, we'll give you $20 million.
Which is exactly what happened.
Okay, well, we'll take your $20 million. We'll increase the fighting penalty. So now 15 minutes for fighting, and we got $20 million to help us get through this season. So, sometimes it was a political move. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Fighting is becoming less and less part of the game, so whatever, and it's safer for the kids.
Yeah, I have no issue with it. As long or I mean,
I don't like that it was done because of politics instead of like done by, hey, we should do this because safety, not because we'll get money. That's the issue I really have with it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. As well as the 15-minute penalty, there is after 5 fighting majors, so after your 5th fighting major, it's a 1-game suspension.
Okay.
Which the amount of guys fighting.
That's a lot of leeway, though. 5 fights before you get suspended. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you have 5 fights in a year, like, that's kind of surprising, in my opinion. I mean, I'm A-okay with the rule. That's how it is in the North American Hockey League. It's a 15-minute penalty for fighting. So, like, I have no issue with it. If a guy wants to fight, they have the option, but you have to understand, hey, it's going to carry 10 more minutes than what we are expected. It does kind of
be way down in the queue this year if it wasn't already.
I was going to say, like, it's always been down just because the queue's more of a skilled league anyway. I mean, if this was the WHL up in Canada, then we're talking a different story because there's more fighting, but even now there's less fighting in every league period.
Yep.
I just thought it was an interesting tidbit, a weird rule change. Not often do you see a government get involved in the rules of hockey. But
again, it was,
they needed the relief.
Yes, sir.
So I think with that, though, that wraps up episode 71 of the Team Stripes podcast. Please, please, please check us out on all of our social medias at Go Team Stripes. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Discord. Subscribe to us on our YouTube. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Sounds good. Yeah, guys, it's a pleasure as always. And we'll catch you next week on the podcast. Thanks for listening to Team Stripes.